I read comic books and I was the hero of the comic book. I saw movies and I was the hero in the movie. So every dream that I ever dreamed has come true 100 times.
Just a king of rock and roll, king of rock and roll.
Baby, baby, baby. Baby, baby, baby.
Oh my God, oh my God.
Yeah, baby.
The best 2 hours of Elvis.
Blue Suede Connection. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Little alternate take happening there.
Ooh, that's nice.
But I gotta tell you,
Jerry.
I do like Jerry's picking style. He's a great, amazing musician. He was.
And writer.
Yeah, I like his style of writing.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently Elvis did too.
Oh, exactly.
That's why I did several songs.
You know, what's funny is the biggest song we all know as Elvis fans is Guitar Man.
Mm-hmm.
And Jerry actually released this for first time himself in 1967.
Okay.
Now, it did okay, but Elvis heard it later that year and decided he was going to go ahead and do it, and had called Jerry, asked him to play lead on it. And of course, nobody is going to turn down having a song put out by Elvis. I mean, you would just be financially devastated if you didn't do that, you know.
Right.
So of course he agreed. The song actually went to #1 on the country charts in 1967, and actually was re-released again in 1981, where Jerry came back in and
overdubbed.
he overdubbed himself. But, you know, Jerry is one of those guys. Now, didn't he play in, did he play in Smokey and the Bandit?
Yeah, he was in several Burt Reynolds movies.
Yeah, he is hilarious.
He's funny.
Actor, too.
He's a great guy.
He's an all-around talented person. Unfortunately, he passed in 2008.
Yeah, he had some great, it's Amos Moses and stuff like that. Great songs. Yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah. And talk about the good times as we just played U.S. Mail, A Thing Called Love. I mean, he did a great job.
All right, well, here's a couple more talking about Guitar Man. You ready to rock and roll?
Let's go.
Now, for those of you wondering what we're giggling at, we're here in our studio and we heard like a buzz. I think an airplane flew over the house and we're like, what's that? What's
that? A low-flying airplane.
Anyway, Neil Diamond was a big Elvis fan. They were actually neighbors. Mm-hmm. And Elvis covered a few of his songs, so I think it's time to do a little Neil.
I was awed. He was an amazing live performer. He was electric, and he was wonderful. And halfway through his show, he introduced me. I was in the audience, and he introduced me. And, you know, it's like, and like God is saying, oh, stand up. I like this person in the world. Why don't you meet him? And my God. And, you know, so I stood up. And then the audience started to cheer, and they started to say, get up on stage and, you know, sing together, you know. No, I couldn't possibly. It's... And he saw I was uncomfortable with it. He said, well, he's on holiday now, so leave him alone, let him enjoy the show.
You heard the excitement in those two guys' voices talking about Elvis. First, Reed said, that's all I could do to hold his guitar.
Yeah.
And then when Neil spoke, he said it was like God calling him out when he saw Elvis live. They were both very excited for Elvis to record their music.
I can imagine, yeah.
Now, let's go back to the early days of rock and roll, back in the 50s. Rivalries were really hot back then.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and the media back then even tried to flame those fires between Pat Boone and Elvis.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But Chuck was a pretty cocky dude, Chuck Berry.
Okay.
Very confident dude. But he had nothing but good things to say about Elvis.
Good.
What I was getting at is all these cats back in the early... I can call them cats. That's 50s lingo, you know.
Okay, yeah.
But all these guys, they all loved Elvis. I mean, they all would get mad at each other. Even Little Richard said, when Elvis first did Tutti Frutti, I was really upset. But then I got my check and I got to know Elvis.
He got his royalty
and then
check.
I learned to love him.
Yeah, buddy.
That's my baby. That's my man, Little Richard would say. But they all loved Elvis. And I think that says a lot about him. But I think once they met him and got to know who he was, his soul, they realized he was a good guy.
Yeah.
And plus, let's face it, he ruled the charts in 56 and 57.
Yeah.
You couldn't say, I'm better than him, I got more. You couldn't, because he's the man with like 3 or 4 songs on the top 10 list.
Right.
The same week. So, But anyway, Chuck said this, he was the greatest who ever was or ever will be.
Nice.
That says a lot from amazing artists like Chuck Berry. You know, of the 3 artists that we've shared so far, Jerry Reed, Neil Diamond,
yes,
and Chuck Berry, each wrote distinctively their own sound, their own style.
Right. Yep.
And then you put Elvis on top of it to bring it out.
Yep.
It just shows the talent of all these people boiled into one, and Elvis putting it out there. It just really makes you realize, these folks, how talented they were in their fields.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, Elvis was really lucky in that way, not just with writers and songwriters, but musicians.
Now, I understand that Elvis actually did try to write a few things things, but he was never comfortable enough with what he'd write. He just didn't feel comfortable with the pen.
Yeah, he used to say he was lucky to graduate from high school.
But he did produce and do all the stuff in the studio, but he just would not commit. I bet he could have if he had wanted to. Writing
is just a passion you either have or you don't have.
Right, I agree.
It really is.
I agree. And he didn't want to do it.
Any kind of writing.
He was at home on that microphone and with a guitar in his hand.
He was at heart an entertainer.
Yes, absolutely.
Really, yeah.
In 1976, Olivia Newton-John saw Elvis performing live.
Oh, okay.
Although she did not get to meet him, but she was in shock in the audience at the show as he introduced her to the audience.
Aww.
She said he performed one of her songs, If You Love Me, and blew her away. She said she was such a big fan, and just hearing him say her name excited her so much she almost peed her pants.
Oh, yeah, I can relate to that.
And the Eagles were also in the audience that night in 1976.
Okay.
It was in Long Beach in April of 1976.
What a moment.
Okay, imagine you're this hot new talent that everybody thinks you're one of the greatest songwriters, you and your friend Art Garfunkel.
Yeah.
And you're sitting in this crowd at this concert, and suddenly you hear a song starting that you wrote.
Yeah.
And Elvis sings it, and at the end of the song, you're just lost for words. His exact words were, "My God, how do you top that?"
Yeah.
That was Paul Simon. You know, he said that. He was there.
Yeah.
And how intimidating would that be? I don't know if intimidating, but...
I think I'd be so extremely proud. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be proud. Of course, their fans are there to see him to begin with. They're big fans, and then he does one of their songs.
Yeah,
like, whoa.
That you're happy with, that you've done and you're proud of, and then your idol does it. Oh, my gosh.
And I think it was Art that said that's the way the song was supposed to be sung.
Yeah.
So they both really appreciated Elvis's interpretation. Little jam session happening right there.
Nice.
That wasn't meant to be a recorded song. That was just Elvis and the guys goofing. Mm-hmm. In between takes, they're messing around at rehearsals, and they did a little Ray Charles.
Yeah, nice that somebody did record it.
Baby, what I say. Yeah, there you go. He actually really recorded that song for the Viva Las Vegas soundtrack, which is also in the movie.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But I thought we'd play that different version today.
That's good.
Because we like to play things different around here, don't we?
We be very different.
That's why we are who we are. We're Blue Suede Connection, baby. How many stations now, or how many listeners did you say we've
in 8 countries?
Oh,
we just picked up Sweden last week, so we're very excited.
Hello,
welcome,
Sweden. Yeah, there you go. I'm excited about that. What country are we going to get next?
I don't know. You tell me.
That just shows you the universal appeal of Elvis Presley. That's all I can say. Mm-hmm. A sad, sad song, as he said. One of the saddest songs he'd ever heard. There you go. I'm so lonesome I could cry. I'd be lonesome if I didn't have you. I'd cry.
Oh,
I would.
Cry?
All the time. 24/7. Yes, I would. All right. Now, we've been teasing about this. Bob Dylan. Totally different type of artist than Elvis. An amazing songwriter. They called him a poet, actually.
Right.
Well, give us a little insight into this Elvis-Dylan connection.
All right, so we got a lot of this information. We like to give credit where credit's due from elvisbiography.net. They had an article out about Elvis Presley and Bob Dylan. Were they kindred spirits? What made them kindred spirits, basically? And Elvis officially recorded 2 Dylan songs.
Going to hear those today.
Yeah, in the studio and stuff. But Dylan was a huge Elvis Presley fan, and Elvis was a huge songwriter fan. He loved Dylan. He loved the Beatles. He loved their writing talents, especially that of John Lennon. As a teenager growing up in Minnesota, Dylan idolized Elvis. He played in several bands at the time before he was famous, and he loved to do Elvis songs, and he fantasized about Elvis someday doing his own work when he got to writing his own. Yeah.
Love me true, all my dreams fulfilled for my darling.
Now, I don't know if he was the singer of these bands.
All right. I'm sorry. I had to do that. I had to.
But when Dylan finally made a name for himself, he shared some of his stuff with Elvis's people and wanted to see if Elvis could possibly do any of it, and was very, very privileged when Elvis did pick a couple of his things.
Right.
And both Elvis and Dylan had a common struggle. They struggled with their legend status. Dylan had a legend status really early in that folk music lore, and struggled with it, and Elvis also did, and somehow Dylan kind of knew that he shared that struggle with Elvis. So Dylan wrote this: "When I just heard Elvis's voice, I knew I wasn't going to work for anybody, and nobody was going to be my boss.
Right.
Having heard him was like busting out of jail."
Good stuff right there by Mr. Dylan. All right, I guess it's time to hear what Elvis did with some Dylan tunes, huh? Having fun there doing Bob Dylan tunes.
Yeah, it's nice.
A follow-up to your story you mentioned earlier, I know Dylan was also asked what was the highlight of his career. And he said, that's easy, Elvis recording my songs.
Oh, yeah.
So that's how much that meant to Bob Dylan, that Elvis did record his songs.
Right. I think Don't Think Twice, It's All Right, and Tomorrow's a Long Time were the two he actually laid down on LP, right?
Yes, exactly. We have Blowing in the Wind and a couple other ones he did, but they were just really quick or at home
Just
and stuff
goofing
like
around,
that.
yeah.
Well, there's a lot of great songwriters out there and musicians. They don't always get a lot of big hits themselves, but they write great songs for other people.
Exactly.
And Tony Joe White did record Polk Salad Annie. I don't know how popular it got, but most people don't even know of it. But they know of Elvis Presley's version, right?
Exactly. Well, actually, Tony has reportedly told people that Elvis loved songwriters, that he kind of had like this fascination with them, and that they would hang out backstage at shows, and that Elvis always treated them well. And he said that Elvis once told him that he felt like that he had wrote Polk Salad.
Okay.
And Tony told him, the way you sing it, it sounds like you did.
Hey TL, I think Elvis fans are starting to catch on to Blue Suede Connection.
What's not to love, Daniel? 2 hours of great Elvis music, lots of fun. It's our own private party.
And we want everybody to be part of the party. Hear all the hits, rare cuts, and lots of surprises too. We are your Blue Suede Connection. Thanks for watching.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And hit that notification bell.
We are your Blue Suede Connection.